Welcome to the Autobody Source podcast, your direct link to products, skills, and training for a rewarding career in automotive collision repair. This episode highlights an interview published by the Autobody Source in summer of 2022. Enjoy the show. For generational body shop business owners who refuse to hire and train millennials, it's probably time to reconsider. It matters because the old era of collision center management is over, and the millennial takeover has begun. According to Deloitte's Millennial survey in 2014, millennials born between 1980 and 1995 will comprise 75% of the global workforce by 2025. About 80 million millennials dominate the U.S. workforce today. Our expert on this topic is Mike Lanza, who was manager of business consulting services for Sherwin-Williams Automotive Finishes from 2015 to 2024. With over 33 years of automotive experience, managing and owning both independents and MSOs, Mike advised the industry in recruiting, training, technical, sales, and all central services. Here's our chat.
I thought it was really interesting how you approached the shift in the industry. I mean, of course, there's been a shortage that's nothing new, but the makeup of the industry and how it's going to change in such a short span of time is what intrigued me. One of the reports that I think you might have referenced initially mentioned that by 2020, it was forecast that half of the industry would be comprised of millennials. And now it's only 3 more years before it's going to be 75%.
Yeah. It's I've had that conversation year after year, and people, they get it, but they don't get it, or they get it, but they're paralyzed or don't know what to do to change it because it's such a drastic. Well, let me rephrase. It's drastic in the way that demographic goes to business, but it's not as drastic as a lot of people think it is. We always try to glean off of the worst case scenario, right? These people don't want to do this, or they're not going to do that, or so everybody gravitates to the negative. But the good part of it is as our business changes, as our world changes, technology is a big part of it. Remote working, interacting over different kind of apps, applications. The newer generation or the younger generation is very, very comfortable with that. And that's really where the world is going, and that's where the auto body industry is going, and really is there for the forward-thinking users. So if they start looking at it as, wow, this is a great opportunity for us to bring people in and take our business to the next level, it's a lot more easily adaptable. But some of the, long-standing generational business owners that want to do it the same way need you on site from 7 to 5 or 7 to 6, and need you in that cubicle doing one thing every day, all day. That's just not going to continue to work. And as these larger MSOs, multi-level, multi-store body shops, the Calibers of the world and Crash Champions and companies like that are really on the move as of late, they're starting to really adapt to this. And I think that's going to be the key for them to be really successful, because that's how they're going to business. I'll tell you one thing that was really interesting. I was at the IBIS conference last week. I guess it was a week before. I don't know if you know what IBIS is, but it's an international body shop symposium. And it's really the brightest and best from the industry from all around the world. And they converge a couple times a year. And the conversation at that level is what we're talking about today is how do we move it into the new millennial? How do we go to business differently? And how do we tap into this group of people? So you have a huge cultural divide from what's happening at the street level for the generational body shop owners and these new companies who are starting to adapt to it. And so it was very positive and gratifying to see that at that level, they're starting to endear themselves to it.
You mentioned some of the newer body shops. Is that across the board with the dealer body shops or the smaller privately owned? Or is it just the car stars and the MSO level where they're getting it?
I mean, I don't have an all-encompassing answer on that, but I will tell you that the larger ones, and here's what you're going to see. I like to say they're called super regional. So you'll have some that may have anywhere from could be 40, 50 to 150 stores. Then you have the real big ones like Caliber that's got 1,500 stores. And you got some in-betweeners there. They're the ones who are really adopting to that because they have the footprint in the marketplace. So they can put the investment in the going out and finding people, tracking them, training them, where the smaller shop will have to say, okay, if I bring you in, you're not as experienced, but I see what you could bring. Can I afford you to not give me an ROI day one? Mm-hmm. So, right, that's the question I always get, or the comment I continue to get is, well, how do I pay that person? Right. If they don't bring value day one, how do I pay that person? And the reality of it is, how do you afford not to pay that person? You know, right. it is a cost of doing business. You know, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you may have had more time to transition, but now because we're up that number is almost upon us, that 2025, 2028, you know, drastic action has to happen now or else they're going to be left behind. Hence, right. I think why you see so many of the smaller multi-store, and I say small, it could be 3 to 7, 10 maybe, mm-hmm. are looking to sell and are selling because they are just struggling making that transition.
I wondered that because that seemed maybe just only in the past 6 months I've started to see it, but it's like all of a sudden it's a mushroom, you know?
It has accelerated, hasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So look, if I'm up there speaking at an event like SEMA and I'm talking about this and I say, when we start looking at the demeanor of this geographic group, right? We say they like to be involved. They don't want to work for somebody. They want to work with somebody. They don't want to work 9 to 5. They want a flexible schedule.
Yeah.
Right away, there are some that just shut off and say, well, you know what? This is my business. My name's on the building. I'm going to do it my way. They're not going to tell. I get all that. But this is the business we're in, and this is the generation. Stop looking at that negative. They're not telling you this. They're just saying, hey, this is how we work, how we've been trained to work in school. We've worked as teams. We've never sat in a corner and in a silo, which we do now, right? It's you're an estimator, so you're an estimator. And you're a body man, so you're a body man. And that's it. They need some cross-pollination and see how things work on both sides of the desk. So all I'm telling them is that open your mind to this and say, okay, I understand where you're coming from. This is what I need. How do we come in the middle and meet and say, let me figure out how to take your skill set and make it work. So let's say you and I talk and I like you and I think that you're a driven person and you have some mechanical aptitude and you're driven and you want a career and we talk about all that. And I bring you into my business. I'm going to put you in different areas of my business to see where you flourish because I want you to flourish. I want you to say, you know, I was in body and I didn't really like it. And then I went over to mechanical and I don't know, but painting, man, I just love that. I just love, you love painting. Mm-hmm. Okay. So how do I develop you to make a living doing that and to make me a living doing that? Right. Instead of saying, oh, I'm going to hire you for this and I stick you in that and that's where you stay forever.
Because that's what I need. Right.
That's what I need. And that will never happen. Those people, those employees will leave because I tell people every day, people don't quit companies. They quit management. Yeah. So if they're unhappy with the way they're being managed or they're not given opportunities or nobody really cares about what their aspirations are because it's all about what I need as a company, those people will leave and the turnover will continue to be great. So and the smaller companies, I don't know if they just don't have the appetite for it. They don't have the pond they're fishing in is kind of shallow and it's just not enough people there to pull from. Or simply they just don't know how to do it. So, it's kind of a mass exodus as of late.
You touched on something that I also picked up on was how siloed the industry has been historically. It really is a mindset shift. I'm glad that you pointed that out. And this has been really helpful. I appreciated the contrast I thought with all the millennials coming into a blue collar industry. These are people who grew up around technology, but this is not a technological industry. What hasn't been, I guess it's changing now because
it's changing now. And that's really, look, I've been in some major big shops, multiple locations that they have people that all they do is the scan of the computers and the calibration of the sensors and things. And that's a full-time job. So
Wow.
Five years ago, that wasn't a full-time job. Now it's a full-time job, and that will continue to become more prevalent, right? I mean, every single car will have that level of complexity. So those are the people that we need in the business. But sometimes the narrow-mindedness of some folks is we're fixing cars. Well, you're fixing a car, but that car is not like it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
Right.
You want to fix it the same way you did. You think it's just paint and parts and people, but there's a lot more to it. So some people just have a mental shift that they can't seem to break. And honestly, if they can't, then it is probably time for them to move on. My biggest thing has always been, how do we attract people to the industry, right? Mm-hmm. So you go into Best Buy or Lowe's or, a car lot, buy a car, you see all these young people. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? What? I mean, I get it. It's a job, but they don't even realize of the potential. Now, that individual person may not have the aptitude to do the job, but I'm sure there are a lot of them that have an aptitude to do. It could be front office. It could be estimating. It could be parts. It could be scanning and calibrating. It could be body. It could be paint. All these things. And yet they're working at the Gap, you know what I mean? And they're making $15 an hour, whatever. And that's it. And I'm like, they just don't know what they don't know. So my big thing has always been, how do we go and let them know? It's all social media. It's all algorithms. It's all, pushing things. If you're looking for, you're on your phone looking for rims on your car, for your car, you start getting a bunch of push things on rims, right? Or if you're buying shoes or an umbrella or whatever. We need to do the same thing in the industry. We need to find a way to say, okay, within let's say 50 square mile radius, whoever's looking for car related stuff, maybe we start pushing things to them to say, hey, you ever thought of a career in the collision business? And here's a YouTube video to go to or something to generate interest. If interested, call or do. And I don't know, right? I don't know how that whole piece works, but I know that that's where this industry needs to start to live.
I keep seeing online too, a lot of females are taking advantage of it now because they are jumping on the wave. And
you see a lot more females in the industry, not only in the front office, but on a production floor. And I follow quite a few female auto body shops, Ink and Iron Auto and places like that are on social media. And there's one in Canada. It's an all-girl garage and all that. And I think it's fantastic. I was tasked with putting an apprentice program together a few years back, and I started getting involved with it, and my duties took me in a different direction. I was unable to complete it. But part of that was, how do we get those women to become ambassadors for the industry, to say, hey, girls, look at us. We're making six figures. We love it. This is look at us, start waving. How do we connect that? So, I think it's 2 points. The point one is, how do we find the people? How do we attract them? And then when we get them, how do we keep them? How do we make sure they're interested? What kind of a cadence do we stick with to make sure that you're fulfilled and you are moving in the direction you want to move? Or if you're not, what is that direction? Because, communication has always been zero. It's, I hire you, I pay you, do your job. There's no, hey, every 6 months or every 3 months, let's have a review. This is what we agreed you were going to do. This is what you said you could do. This is where you're at. What do you think? Do we need to pivot and move in a different direction? Those things are important now. And so all of these things are a complete paradigm shift to the way people have run collision centers for 75 years, 80 years. So it's totally, totally different. So however you go about this is taking it and turning it upside down and saying, this is the new roles that we're looking for, and expand those roles, right? Body, paint, estimator, those three. Now there's 15 roles, not just 3. Like you said earlier, it seems like it's accelerated lately, and it has. I mean, if you get on LinkedIn and you follow, let's say, Crash Champions, which is an MSO group that is really accelerating. They told me they're buying an average of 2 to 3 shops a week. So they are just on a tear. So if you follow them and you see a lot of posts, you'll see a lot of women, director of a market, VP of this, body shop manager, sales, a lot of women. So I think for the industry to grow, that needs to be exploited. And I don't know exactly, other than that and people seeing that, there needs to be somebody who's out there kind of singing that to the masses, saying this industry is open to anyone, not just your stereotypical person who grew up changing the oil with their dad in the driveway, but anybody who has, and you don't even have to like cars. I mean, it's not one of those things where I love cars, so I want to be around. It has nothing to do with it. Mm-hmm. It's a valid industry that you can learn a portion of it and be very successful and make a very good living. Whether it's a tech school or whether it's college, if I'm telling you that this is your upside, then you're more apt to come and pay me for this education. So, right. So if you're in my tech class, I'm like, you can make $150,000 being a painter. I'm like, well, I'm taking this class and I'm graduating. If I told you can make 40, 35, you're like, well, damn, I can go work at, Best Buy and probably make that, or go sell cars and make that. So, so you're right. There is a problem there. But the other issue, shops will advertise those big numbers in order to attract people. So, but all they're doing is attracting current workers. They're not developing new workers. They're poaching from their competitors. And all they're doing is driving their cost of labor up. That's all they're doing. And that can't continue. Well, it's a pain point, right? I mean, I got to get rid of the pain. And the pain is I need a body that's fixing that car, because my insurance company direct repair program is telling me if I don't meet this criteria, these metrics, they're going to take me off the program. And that's $80,000 a month. And I can't do that. So I'm going to overpay for Mike to come in here, and I'm going to poach Mike from down the street. And the only people benefiting are the technicians.
Mike, this has been insightful. This is invaluable information. I feel like this is gold that people make. It's just sitting under our noses. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. And you're right. It is. It really is. And it's going to take people like you, like me, like these people at IBIS and these MSOs that realize it to really start to put a focus on it. So I'm happy to do it, because, it's been a long time coming.
The Autobody Source podcast is a production of the Autobody Source, published by International Autobody Marketing Group. For 3 decades, the Autobody Source has connected repair solutions to collision shops across North America. In continuous publication since 1992, we differentiate ourselves with a publication that's a direct resource for auto body products and brands to the warehouse, the jobber, and body shop technicians, servicing over 17,000 jobber customers each year in the U.S. and Canada, as well as Bermuda, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Bahamas, and the Caribbean. For more information, visit autobodysource.com.